This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday Sunrise Safari. We're standing here with a Nyala bull just outside of our camp at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands of the Western Kruger National Park. My name is James Hendry. Hello. And on camera today is Sebastian, the greatest French Gabonese Air Force pilot in history. There are lions calling, about 75 miles away. Please ask us any questions you'd like to using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Otherwise, of course, you can use the chat stream on YouTube. Now, this is a Nyala bull. And this Nyala bull, youngster as he is eating some Gymnosporia buxifolia, or the common spikethorn. There's lots of lion shouting up, way up to the north. And he's so confiding to us because he has spent a lot of time around camps, which means he realizes that people are just not very scary unless they're carrying weapons and are trying to trap him, which clearly we aren't. So his experience of people is a very positive one. There are not many animals in the world that can say that. Anyway, his experience of us is quite positive, and so he's just going about his business, and as long as I don't get too close to him, he'll just carry on. I'm only standing about 3 meters from him, and I was saying to Sebastian before we started that the key to this is not behaving in a manner that makes him think he's being stalked. So you want to be nonchalant and quiet and sort of slow enough that he doesn't get a fright, but not so much so that he thinks you're a predator trying to stalk him. Now, I think if I was to get or try and sandwich him up against that bush, he'd get a little bit nervous. So I'm just going to walk around the side of him. He is watching me, no question, and the rest of his herd is not too far away from here. Yes, Maverick, you were obviously watching yesterday afternoon. Goodbye, Nyala. Have a wonderful morning. When we watched a Nyala bull standing on a leopard tortoise, which was very unfortunate for the leopard tortoise. The leopard tortoise, of course, did survive having its shell. That's the whole point of being a tortoise, really. But it was quite funny to watch. Okay, off we go. I'm not sure what we're going to track yet. I'm going to catch up with Herbert, who's just up there on the clearings, and we'll decide from there. We'll go to the Masai Mara now to meet David Gatambagetu, who is out and about.
A very good morning and welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And good luck, James, and I would suggest possibly if you can get my favorite Tingana, the Duke of Djuma. My name is David, and with me on camera today is James. Good morning, James. How are you? We had another James in South Africa. We have another James here in Kenya. Maybe one small James, one big James. Now, James has a good idea that you go look for the sausages, and that's my plan for the day. A cool morning. I still have my Masai Shuka, 18 degrees Celsius and about 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that's beautiful sunrise. It hasn't come through yet, but look at that beautiful sky. And it's another beautiful day here, and all the colors you would love to see in the world, and especially more so here in Africa. That's what you got. We have no what they call visual pollution. If there's any pollution on the way between me and the eastern horizon, are those trees that we call the torchwood trees. I've said it many times. Sunazi, how are you today? And you say that's a beautiful sky and it could not be better. I agree with you 100%. And earlier I was saying Kenya lies, or East Africa lies along the equator, and sunrises and sunsets tend to be at the same time. So Sunazi, keep enjoying that sunrise, and maybe me and you and the other viewers can estimate or can just give a quick count of how many colors that you see there. My favorite ones is always the peach and the orange, a bit of gold. Sometimes I hear James Henry saying there's a bit of honey there. And I've always said, which honey, James, do you talk about? Because when you travel over the world, even here in Africa, where I live, honey has different colors depending on the type of bees or the type of beehive you're harvesting them from. So the color of honey will keep changing. But either way, there's some honey color there, which makes it a beautiful sky for the morning. As I said earlier, James have told me we are going to go look for the sausages. And remember, what we do is a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions or any comments, please send them through using hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or you can follow us on the YouTube chat stream. We'll be waiting for the sun to pop up maybe another few minutes later, but in the meantime, we'll move on and take you across back to South Africa to another gentleman to say good morning to all of you.
Oh, good morning, good morning. Oh, there goes an amethyst or violet back or plum-coloured starling, depending on what book and what generation you're from. Oh, he's landing right in front of us now. Morning, I'm Brent. Let's have a look at the starling. There we go. Very pretty bird. Now, I've heard some rather disturbing news. Well, and off it goes. Oh, no, it's just popped on again. Some rather disturbing news is that no one has managed to put a woodlands kingfisher on camera, and there are quite a lot of them around. The sound of summer. And you can just see some of that beautiful coloration on that starling. Unfortunately, the rest of the starling is not so out in the open. Let's see if I sneak forward a skosh here. Don't you die, you flew. Hi. Remember, hashtag SafariLive if you want to chat to me, or just pop your questions on the YouTube feed. My plan for the morning is I'm going to go check on that Talamati mail and then head towards the east. Go have a look if we can find the Nkomas we found on last night's drive. And then, if we have no luck there, or if we have luck and we decide we're feeling really lucky, to carry on and look for Thandi and Tlalamba. So lots to look for. It is an absolutely gorgeous morning. Lots of hyena tracks heading down towards the wildebeest carcass and the young Talamati. It's this time of the year, after we've had a little bit of rain, it's still a bit chilly in the mornings, but it's crystal clear. And it's some of my favorite times in the African bush. Oh, redback shrikes making noise wherever we go. That's a little male. Another one of the migrants that has arrived. We might do a fair bit of birding this morning as well. Isn't he pretty? With his little black face mask. That is a male redback shrike. And they make a lot of noise at this time of the year. Tip, 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 tip. Now, of course, like most of the, well, not most, but quite a few of the shrike family, off he goes, they are great impalers of insects. So they'll actually keep a ladder, and they'll stab a grasshopper along a thorn, and there's a couple of different reasons. One of the reasons is that for the males, if they've got a big larder, it shows that they're a good provider for the female, and also just a snack for later. So we've seen two of the... Oh, there's more lions here. Hold on. 1, 2... Is this the 3 girls from last night that have come through from Torchwood? 4 lions. Where's that carcass? The carcass looks like it's been devoured. It was over there. Whoa, there's lots of lions here. Probably Nkomas. Looks like the Nkomas. I can't see the Talamati male. Okay, let's get into a good spot. They're all looking a bit nervy. They might be just joining up for the first time, because I know quite a few of the lions were in Arethusa. We had amber eyes, a sub-adult and another adult in Torchwood. Manky Mangens are here as well, and the Talamati. It looks like they've all joined up. Some of them are having a drink. Oh my goodness, one of the manky mungans has properly lost the tip of his tail since I've been gone. There we go, it's a shame. They are maybe looking a little bit better than when I last saw them, not much. There's a bit of food in the belly though. Now, I'm not sure it's the whole pride. Indigo Girl, who says, awesome, I haven't seen all the Nkumas together for a while. So I'm not sure it's the whole pride. It definitely looks like the majority of. Just going to chat on the radio quickly. Stations located in Nkuma Pride at Twin Dams. Sorry about that, Craig. Sorry, go again, Herbie. No, we've got the Ngala, but they're not calling. Okay. Having a thirsty drink. Let's try get up and around to the rest of them. Okay, hold on, bumpity. Ooh, that's going to be pretty. That's going to be pretty. As we look at the lines on the dam wall with the sun rising above. Well, this is a lovely way to start what day is it? I don't even know what day it is. A Saturday morning. Saturday Catterday. Here we go, Saturday Catterday. Here are the two Mungans and the Talamati. There seems to be much looking about at the moment, looking back even. Hello, scruffy looking. They're listening. Herbie said he had audio further to the west of where we are. Maybe that's what they're listening for. Bright Knight's wondering, is it the actual end of his tail that's fallen off, or is it just the pom-pom? It's just the tuft, it's just the pom-pom. And you see there's still some of the darker hair there. They definitely are looking a bit better than when I last saw them. What are they listening to? That is the question. Very pretty nonetheless, with that early morning light coming through. Oh, I can hear a lion way in the distance. Far, far away to the north. But of course, it could be the missing Nkumas that are. But I haven't really managed a head count yet. I can see 3 lioness at the moment, and these 3 young males. There's 1 all, there's 2 there. And there's one way back there. 2. So we got 4. They might be heading for a drink. Gorgeous, isn't it? Five. And you can see there's some rotund lions here. And with the wildebeest that died of natural causes, and the zebra they caught yesterday, well, 3 of them were munching on that. And they've actually moved quite far, probably about 5.5 kilometers from where we found them yesterday. Look at that belly sway. There's no hip sway for these girls, it's a belly sway. They're still looking in that direction. I'm just trying to listen very carefully to see if I can hear anything. I do seem a little bit nervous this morning. Now where? Turn around and go back. Okay, I'm going to reposition shortly and let's go see where those lionesses are off to. In the meantime, we're going to send you a few thousand kilometers to the north, to Kenya and the Masai Mara.
How are we doing? I hope it is a wonderful day wherever you find yourself this morning. It is indeed a beautiful, fresh morning in the Mara. My name is indeed Steve, joined on camera by Bongay. Welcome aboard. We are going to see what is going on at the carcass last night of the lions and the buffalo, which is just down the road here somewhere. We waited for a good 45 minutes after the show last night to see if the hyena would bravely come forward, and well, no, they didn't. They didn't. Very, very disappointing. So we're going to go see maybe if they finally managed to pluck up the courage in the early hours of the morning, and maybe they've decided to move in on at least one of those buffalo. That's what we're going to do for now and see what happens. A brave jackal was coming very, very close, extremely close to the lions. Definitely the bravest of the animals, because the lions were there and the hyena were not coming anywhere close. They were. It's very disappointing. You know, I'm waiting for the showdown of hyena coming in and lion running away, and haven't had it yet. Haven't had it yet. We've got a few more drives to get it in. Hopefully it'll be this morning. How is everybody doing? Let us know. Hashtag SafariLive. Drop your comments on the YouTube chat stream. Let us know what you'd like to see and talk about this morning. But how interesting. Just goes to show with Brent finding that wildebeest carcass, we know for a fact that it died of some other cause other than lions. And aren't lions the big scavenger? Yes they are. Amazing how they just materialize out of nowhere. They've got walkie-talkie saying, got a wildebeest here, got a wildebeest, and then they all come from who knows where. They come out of the thickets. Always amazes me how these animals find their way to an animal like that. No doubt after that stomach was popped and the smell permeated the air, it attracted lions from all sorts of directions. But very good. I hope Brent is parked in a better position this morning so that the smell is not affecting him. No doubt he has. Okay, well, we are going to continue on to see if we can find our buffalo carcasses, and in the meantime, buffalo are on the menu, and David has found some still drawing breath.
Well, good luck, Steve, and hopefully you're going to get some interesting stuff this morning, especially if you can get the cut. Now, came across these buffaloes here and I decided to stop because behind them we got some few zebras. Ideally, the migration is almost over in the Mara Triangle, and most of these beasts that are always in general wildebeest and zebras have gone down south to Tanzania in the eastern Serengeti in the western Ngorongoro to start preparing to bring down their babies come the month of February. Now, the cats around this area and most of the lions will have this choice on their menu. They'll be more often than not be bringing down buffaloes, because buffaloes do not migrate, and if they do migrate, we call it small little or mini migration, and they do not cover as many miles as the wildebeest would cover. It's a huge herd of buffaloes, and out of experience, anytime we'll be out here on drives, once the wildebeest look for lions not very far from the buffaloes. And every few days they'll bring one down, depending on the size of the pride. And buffaloes being ruminants, you can see some are chewing cud, either laying down or while standing, just like the cows would do. Some are still grazing, and that's one advantage of being a ruminant. You can eat and grab as much as you can in terms of vegetation, and then when it gets pretty hot, you may slow down, sit down, and start chewing cud. Remember, we do a very interactive safari. Questions, comments are very welcome on Twitter, #SafariLive, or you can keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. I have always loved to follow the sausage lion pride is because I have known them sometimes, even without the help of a male, they can comfortably bring down a buffalo. Puma, what would happen? The migration is a long journey, number one. Two, it's very tricky, it's dangerous. Sometimes during the migration they face drought. They know all the predators they face along the way. So we end up with a few pockets of either zebras or wildebeest that are left behind. And when they notice or they realize they cannot catch up with the main herd, their best option is to stay back, because safety numbers, and if you're fewer, you face more challenges, or it becomes even more dangerous for you to try and venture and catch up with the main herd. This is the African buffalo. Could be similar to the water buffalo in North America, where both males and females will have the horns. And unlike other areas of the world, like in Asia, where people have been known to source milk from buffaloes, we have not been able to do that in Africa. Still cool. Sometimes when it warms up, you'll see lots of small little birds called oxpeckers just hitchhiking on their backs and trying to remove ticks or mites from them. Sonny James, definitely great comment. And should a lion come here, they will have many choices. But I'll let you know also, the lion faces so many challenges from these buffaloes. Once in a while, the lions may zero in, like on that calf you see on your left there. And before they bring it down, before they subdue it, you'll get buffaloes just coming back. Well, talking of lions bringing down buffaloes, I think someone might have spotted a pride somewhere in South Africa.
Well, unfortunately, they are making their way south out of our traverse area at the moment. And we've got a few still coming. Now, there are still some missing Nkuhumas, and I think those are the ones that might be on Arethusa, including the young Nkuhuma male. Oh, there's Amber Eyes coming now. Hello, Amber.
Achoo!
They might not go all the way to the south, as I'm hoping. But at the moment they seem quite highly mobile out of our traverse area. Now, of course, lions take no heed of man boundaries. It is very pretty to watch them disappear around those pans. There's one of the Mungen boys. And he's been head first in that wildebeest carcass by the looks of things. And this second Mungen boy is walking like he's got a very sore back. Did I hear hyenas? Psych D versus those two lions are so sad looking. Will they ever get better? It's difficult to say, Psych Diva, but if it rains more, they hopefully should improve. Aubrey. So I just need to let Aubrey know that the lions are crossing. Yeah, they've crossed at Baboon Pan. They're still visual though, but they are moving. There's one last lioness coming. And here comes it. I thought I heard a hyena. What's that? A hyena's carrying a big piece of meat, Craig, on the other side of the Moati. There. And probably a leg from that zebra carcass that we had yesterday. Now, our last lion crossing the road. That was the one we saw yesterday at the zebra carcass with the 2 bites on her back left leg. There's been a lot of turmoil amongst the lions in the last couple of months. Hopefully, as soon as those females, sub-adult females, get to 3 years old, everything will calm down a bit. Now, off they go. Southwards. Okay, well, our lions disappear. Let's send you back across to the Mara to Stivovo, who's got some lions of his own in the open plains.
And welcome back to the Mara. We have indeed found the pride from last night, and they are extremely full. They have been eating buffalo, and well, let me say more buffalo. There's a big beautiful blonde male who I'm thinking goes by the name of Blondie, a part of the Kichwa coalition. He's quite pale, in fact. His mane is not a very, very dark mane. There's definitely not Half-Tail, who's missing half a tail, and Fang, who's got a very weird broken tooth inside his face, and quite a scraggly face. I have no doubt, though, that the presence of this big male lion is what's kept the hyena at bay last night. We were with them last night, I said 45 minutes after the show, and at one stage he started calling, and so did the rest of the pride, and moments before that the hyenas seemed to be getting closer and closer, and then, well, after that calling, we didn't see too much of hyena activity after that. The sounds lit up the air and terrified absolutely everything in their way. He was just looking at a grey hornbill flying overhead. Did you see that? He was looking up. Pretty bird. Beautiful. Chihuahua dog, they reckon lions can go for 2 weeks without eating, but that doesn't mean that they do. So they'll hunt as often as they can. Obviously, the success rate of lions is quite low, in fact. 20%, they reckon, of their hunts are successful. But then some days you'll find them hunting and killing 2 times well, twice at the same time. So it is really quite debatable. They will eat whenever they can, and they're constantly on the move and the lookout for food, but also they go through enormous periods of slumber and rest. And, well, they can go for days without eating, but it's not that they choose to. It's all about the success of the pride and the experience. And when there's a lot of youngsters, the experience is lacking and they don't do too well. But every now and again, you find them killing very regularly. During the migration, they definitely make a very good show of it, most lions, because the food is very available and they make hay while the sun shines, as you were. And as the migration dissipates, the lions start having to focus on more consistent prey, such as warthog, which are a little bit trickier to catch, in fact. They live in burrows, and they're quite wily. There's the second carcass over there. Still a couple youngsters feeding on it. It's really diminished quite some. That was an enormous animal. Probably a good 1,000 pounds or so worth of buffalo. 2 of them, so about 2,000 pounds worth of buffalo is, well, obviously all the heavy bones and stuff is eliminated, so just the meat weight. Gary, you'd love some ribs with barbecue sauce. I'm not sure you'd like these buffalo ribs. They've been gnawed upon all night by lions. And I don't think these cats are going anywhere. They've fed themselves to the brim. They're probably going to still spend a number of hours today feeding on these carcasses and go through, as I said, bouts of slumber, and then they remember there's some snacks and they go and they feed again. They will gorge themselves when the opportunity presents itself, because you never know when your next meal is going to come. There is a very flat cat. Well, very good. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Beck. So you confirm it is Blondie. Well, I was taking a little bit of a guess when I said it before. So definitely Blondie from the Kichwa Coalition. Fang is one of his coalition members, and so is Halftail. Halftail easily identified by missing a tail, of course. And Fang, well, he's got a very, very messed up face with a missing bottom canine, or broken canine, should I say. Ooh, let's move the buffalo around a little bit. Look how strong I am. So at Blondie, it seems, was with the pride the other night as well, because when I spotted him from the distance, he was very blonde from behind. I even commented, look how blonde that male is. So obviously that is where other people have seen the same and thought, what a blonde male. It's one of the genetic traits, really, in male lions. Sometimes you get very, very dark black manes, and sometimes they don't go that dark. Some people attribute the blackness to testosterone, in fact, as developed through fighting. But some males I've known, prides, males have just not had dark at all. It's just been sort of brownish, and then other prides where it's extremely thick and dark and black. It's all just part and parcel of the genetic lineage. And generally the sons of cats that have dark manes will then obviously perpetuate darker manes as well. Hello Aidan, 7 years old. We were hoping to find a whole clan of hyena coming through, but I think they've given up. Last night was a bit too much for them probably. Who knows though what happened after dark while we were gone. But there's vultures around, the marabou stalks. There was a jackal moving around yesterday here trying to pick up some scraps. But I don't think too much else is going to come through now. If there was another pride of lions nearby, they might have come. But generally when there's a big male like this, it keeps most things away. The hyena would have been the one sort of species I thought would have tried to come. But I don't think they had the guts to do so. But it was interesting. The hyenas were accumulating, but there was no calls. There were no sounds last night. The characteristic calling of arms of all your soldiers to ranks, but none of them were calling at all in the sighting, which makes me believe that we must have been on a territorial boundary where if they did call, they could have attracted the attention of a rival clan. And well, here There's a little youngster with his full belly, and there is Papa. Quechua males are essentially the dads of this area. Okay, well, we're going to probably move on from our very flat cats shortly, but in the meantime, David has found some elephant.
Well, we got this herd of Ellis here that decided to walk when the sunrise have shot up on the eastern horizon, and I'm watching some young bull just grazing and grabbing grass and leaves and small little plants at the same time. You can see the horizon still looks so beautiful as much as the sun has come up. We still have the beauty of the Mara Triangle. You can see the herd, they're just spread out. And being so cool in the morning, they don't need to keep flapping their ears. That's why they look so calm, using their ears just to cool themselves, or to bring the temperatures or maintain the temperatures at a constant level. Shimon, that's a very good question. Do elephants ever sneeze? What do I think? James, do elephants sneeze? James says he doesn't know, but I'll also say I do not know. I haven't had elephant sneeze, but I would think we all face the same conditions when it comes to sneezing. And I'll tell you, the animals I can tell you for a fact that would sneeze: cats, I can tell you cheetahs, leopards and lions. I've had them sneeze many times. But I would also think the big animals would sneeze. So elephants, possibly they would. Maybe we never pick it up. Where I come from in my village, when elephants could become an issue, we used to contain them by pepper, some very hot chili. And I would guess, as much as we couldn't see them coming at night, the chili would make them sneeze. So, I mean, my answer would be I'm not sure, but I would guess, just like any other animal, once you get a bit of irritation, in your nose, chances are you may get the reflex to have a quick sneeze. This huge cow behind there, she looks pretty old, pretty senior citizen, and sometimes she might end up being the matriarch. It's a young baby there. Daniel, I like that. If they would really sneeze, they would need a huge handkerchief. Maybe, Daniel, an equivalent of my Masai shuka. That's what they couldn't, need to wipe their noses if they sneeze. I like that comment, Daniel. Excellent. Sounds pretty good, eh? Because you see, the noses are just at the end of their trunk, and just to cover their nose and the face, they need a very huge hanky, the size of a blanket, or like a Masai shuka that got. You can see to the right or to the left of those elephants there, there's some little birds, and I guess they're grey-backed shrikes. And sometimes, as much as they eat insect, unlike the egrets, they could be taking advantage of the elephants moving and trying to grab any insects that are jumping as the elephants are feeding. I was saying it's not necessarily the big elephant to be the matriarch. Sometimes the size could be small, but if she's old, she could be the leader of the herd. It's a redneck franklins in the background. Choo-choo, choo-choo, choo-choo. They get pretty busy early mornings and late in the evenings as the day starts and ends, slowing down during the day. Hello, Ellie. So when they can't get out what they want from the ground, sometimes they give it a small little kick. And by so doing also, they disturb the grass, and disturbing the ground also, they prepare it for a fresh growth of another amount of grass. And if the rains come, everything just looks freshly done. So having ellies or other animals out here makes it very nice. Very majestic when you see them just eating slowly, and as they walk you don't even hear them walking, and they'll be moving from these huge humongous big mammals of Africa to a small home of arachnid in South Africa.
Yes, a small home of arachnids. Not the skin of the mangy Mungan males, but in fact a community nest spider, which of course is sitting gloriously perched in the morning sun. Isn't it pretty, the way it catches the light? Now, for those of you who don't know, you are perhaps new viewers, this is the kind of spider's web that if you are arachnophobic, you would not want to be anywhere near, because in it lives probably one this size, I'm going to say 20 to 50 tiny little spiders, that if you happen to fall onto one of these knockdown threads here, like this hapless, oh, there's an assassin bug there actually that's fallen onto there. That's going to be an interesting battle. What's going to happen is that the spiders are going to come up, grab the assassin bug and murder it before dragging it down into their home. So if you're arachnophobic, this is not the place you want to be. And I imagine the thought of putting your hand into something like this would make you rather afraid. Yes? Ooh. Ooh. 20 to 50 spiders. Andy, you say 20 to 50,000 spiders? No, not that many on this particular thing. Now, I wonder if we couldn't have a better look at this assassin bug. Seb, you might be able to do it from there. It's that thing there. And it's assassin's proboscis is the other side. So you can't actually see it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It looks like an assassin bug. Anyway, it's waiting to die now. I'm not sure if this is still an occupied spider's web. We can tap it once or twice and see if we don't get some activity from the ladies. Oh, there we go. There they are. They're in there. They're just the other side. They're actually slightly bigger than I remember them. Females are about, I'm going to say, a centimetre long. They're definitely in there. I know you can't see everybody. It's because we need to get around the other side, but we can't get around the other side on account of the fact that there's a giant fallen ziziphus bush in the way, which will lacerate us. So Seb, she was basically just going in the far end there.
Yeah.
I'll give her another little shaky. Come out, vicious, biting spider girl. There are, of course, largely females in there, the males very small and often used as a snack once they have served their purpose, which is, of course, purely to deposit the male gametes. Not. Oh well. Maybe a better look at the assassin bug. Normally assassin bugs are very brightly coloured. This one is not. This one is not brightly coloured, nor does it have a very bright disposition, because it knows that eventually Mrs. Spider is going to come out, crawl up there inexorably towards him, and bite him. He will try and bite her back, no doubt, with his very evil chemical concoction. An assassin bug, for those of you who don't know them, is a bug that has an amazing ability to insert its proboscis into something and then squirt a mixture of digestive enzymes and acids, such that it liquefies the internal parts of its victim. That victim may include a human being, but obviously it won't liquefy my insides. It'll just make me swear quite loudly. But I don't see any movement from the ladies. No, bright night is not as far as I know. Spiders that during a molt, or if they have lost legs, they won't get new ones during a molt, no. I don't know if there are any spiders that are able to regenerate their legs, but no, you wouldn't expect them to develop new legs. Remember that a molt, of course, is just a shedding of the exoskeleton because of the internal growth, but I don't think that they regrow their legs. There may be one or two species that can, but I've certainly never heard of it. I would think it unlikely. All right, well, I think we've probably looked at this spider for long enough. We're near the southern boundary, trying to follow up on the lion that we heard, but I'm not sure what he's done, because the first time we heard him was the last time we heard him, and so he hasn't called again. These little pans that you can see over here are now going to become fairly active areas. So nice to see a little bit of water in them. Okay, I just want to quickly show you one more thing, which will take 10 seconds, and then we'll go across to Brent, who's at Chitwa Dam. If you look at this, this has been obviously dug open, but you can see it's been symmetrically done so in a loop. It's quite impressive, I think. Don't you think? Looks like it was carved by a human being. Let's go across to GG. A G for Gigi, yes. Let's go across not to Gigi, but Brent Leo Smith.
Welcome everyone.
There's a log behind us.
There's a hippo who just decided to chase a herd of elephants and then decided to come running straight at us. I'm just trying to move out of the way. I'll just go over the log. That was an interesting scenario. The hippo just charged out of the water at the elephants, and the elephants chased back a little bit, and the hippo did not notice us so much. There we go. Some of the elephants might decide to get their own back against the hippo, but maybe not. Now this type of stuff does happen when the animals are stressed, and the hippo are going to be particularly stressed. Water's drying up, as well as the fact that there's very little grazing, and they're having to move further and further every night to get decent grazing. The hippos actually the elephants took that hippo chase quite well. It looks like the eddies. Look at the little one, gonna go down the steep bank. Oh, look, on his knees, slidey slide. And he's having the best time. Almost purposely sliding down on his knees now. Oh, and then Mom moves and he will keep up with Mom. Very, very pretty there. Lovely morning scene here at Chitwa. Spice is wondering, how long can a hippo actually stay on the land for? Well, Spice, as long as they want, they can spend all day on the land. Now, of course, they get bad sun damage if they're out in the sun for too long. But at this time of the year, you will often find them hiding in dry riverbeds, under fallen trees in those areas. So they can spend the full 24 hours out of the water if need be. Oh, oxpeck has just landed on the hippo. So even though hippos spend a vast amount of time in the water, they still get ticks like every other animal. So you will find oxpeckers in residence. Very pretty morning here. Well, here we go. It looks like the herd might come back down, the rest of the herd to drink as well. Maybe they're coming for their revenge on the grumpy hippo. Oh, there we go. Having the best time. Oh, doesn't that look fun? Nice soft sand at the top of the dam wall there. Probably feels really nice. Let's see what the little one does. What you going to do, little monster? I'm going to stick close to Mom. It's very small. No time for dilly-dallying in the sand. You can hear all the birds calling. Even though it started off quite cool this morning, I think it's going to turn into a scorcher of a day. We're going to spend a bit more time here with the Ellies at the dam before we go follow up on some male leopard tracks we saw a little bit earlier. In the meantime, Dave has got a long-legged feathered creature.
Yes, Ellies can be playful, and have always said many times that of the big mammals, elephants are my favorite bird. I mean, rather mammals, because they'll never bore you. They'll always be doing something. And we got a feathered friend here, and this is the secretary bird. And you can see all his quills and feathers popping out of her head, and definitely on a mission to look for something to eat in the morning, looking for breakfast. Very unique birds they are, the secretaries. Called the secretary birds, which I think is a French corruption of Arabic word secrétaire. That means a hunter's bird or hunting bird. Very closely related to the eagles, and sometimes they call them ground eagles, spending most of the time on the ground, looking for either rodents, snakes, any reptiles like lizards or skinks, but more so snakes than anything else. And that's why sometimes we call them Sagittarius serpentarius, serpentarius coming from the word serpent. And she got herself something there, and you can see how they use their powerful kicks and to subdue. You can see in the mouth, the beak, that she got something, and they just saw them so quickly. So they use their very hard kicks to kill whatever prey they get, and they just smash it with their boots, pop, and then very quickly grab it to the beaks. And Lou thinks she might have gotten herself a frog. I mean, and it's very possible. And very quickly swallowing it. Sometimes they swallow them live. You can see some snakes dangling. Nana, you say this is your favorite bird. Excellent, excellent. And I would say she is good looking in any shape or form you think of her. The colors she got when they walk out there, looking at the beautiful eyes like they have a makeup, or the feathers sticking behind their heads. Sometimes pretty tricky to tell the difference between the males and females, but ideally I would say if you're looking at the colors of this one, she looks a little young, and she hasn't fledged 100%, because you could see more grayish in her and more black on her legs, so I think I would call her more of a juvenile than fully grown. And I was talking about the sexual dimorphism of the sexual birds. You notice the females are slightly larger in size than the males, but looking at the feathers that stick out on their head, males ones are more developed or a little bigger than the females. And also on the tail feathers, the males' tail feathers are slightly longer than on the female. It's the only quick way to tell the difference between the males and the females. Unlike other birds whose sexual dimorphism is quite defined, like in the ostriches, these ones you need to look at them very closely. And definitely she's looking for something else there. First of all, you're asking whether this crust is always up. No, she may be having a reason why the crust is all out, but more often than not, it's always laying back towards the head or towards the neck. But maybe for this particular morning, maybe being a juvenile, she still wants to show her beauty and have the crest up like that. But in general, they're always laying behind. If it could be a very windy morning, definitely the crest or those feathers would be out and spread out, looking beautiful as she is. Look at the red on the eye and the black. Sometimes we say they look like they have black miniskirts. And there must be something there that she likes. She hasn't moved from that place since she caught that frog. Heather, Lily, the secretary birds could be up to 3 feet tall. They're quite tall birds. They could be up to 3 feet tall. And where she is, I guess you look carefully, there's a bit of green in that. And most likely there is some water pan there. And if there's a water pan there, she'd be waiting for any other frog to jump up and catch it. They tend to nest on very high trees where they build their nests. And saying this is a juvenile one, if it could be fully grown, you'll always see them in pairs, a male and a female. And this one is yet to get a mate. Very good. From one feathered friend, we'll go to another, maybe hunting feathered friend somewhere.
Thanks, David. Well, we've got a black-headed heron that's also hunting. Just caught a frog a moment ago, and it's going through that elaborate neck-like dance once again. Let's see what it's spotted. See, it gets excited as it sees something. Moves closer, going to take a few quick steps forward. Ready for it. Spring-loading that neck. Trying to pick... Oh! Got it! Oh, my word. Oh, my word, look at that. That is enormous. What is that? That is a giant rat. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an enormous rat. I thought it had caught mainly grass there. I thought it had caught a big clump of grass. But look at the rat. How it's going to swallow that now, I am going to be very amazed. Well, watch it. Let's see how it gets this in its throat. It's going to have to try and kill it, you'd think. Oh, my word. That is quite a meal you have caught there. An adult black-headed heron. It's going to try and crush the head of the rodent before swallowing it all whole. It looks to me like it's too big of a meal to swallow whole. But these birds are quite incredible. That is quite a meal, folks. And now let's see if it manages to swallow it whole. Still alive, unfortunately. Poor thing. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Swallow that. My word. Well, that is the most impressive bird catch I've ever seen. The last few frogs we've seen with the herons have been okay. They've been impressive. But look at that. That was a giant rat. And it's going to be sitting in its throat for some time. And, well, can you imagine the feeling of that? It was still alive. That thing's going to be scratching around, claws, and I really don't understand why it doesn't try and kill it before swallowing. But anyway, that's what they do. You can see it slowly moving down the throat. And that should probably be this bird's meal for the day. But what we often see, once he manages to finally swallow it, he'll carry on walking through and catch some more food. How incredible! That little rodent had no idea, did it? Oh yeah, James. Time to have a lie down and undo the button on your, or undo your belt buckle and lie down. That is exactly what I would suggest. But knowing the heron, it will carry on feeding. Another opportunistic hunter. He's quite satisfied with himself after that. If he had lips, he'd be licking them. Well. You came to us just in time. We saw the elaborate dance, and then what I thought had caught a big ball of grass. I think it is probably still moving, folks. What will happen to the rodent is it'll probably suffocate inside eventually, but it was still moving when it went down. That must be the strangest of feelings, putting a live animal into your throat, down into the crop, and probably twitching around. Very sad day for the rodent, but a happy day for this hunting heron. How marvellous. And have a look on the right here, Bongay. We've got two young topi that are practicing the important lessons of fighting when the time will come. Obviously some zebra and some topi. These are little youngsters that are learning what it's like to be an adult, excited with the tail. There's no need for them to be feeding on grass at the moment. They are probably still very dependent on mum's milk. There's not even the slightest sign of a horn yet, but they know what they've got to do. This is what we do as topis. Oh, there we go. Little horns coming through. That looks like fun, doesn't it? Practice for the real deal at some stage in years to come, when they'll be competing for the right to mate. But now it is just a means of using some pent-up energy. Oh, almost falling asleep on its shoulder there. The typical sort of fashion of wildebeest, topi, hartebeest, how they fight. They go down on their knees. You see how much more leverage they have from their back. The back legs are able to push forward. The angle of the body going down gives them a lot of leverage, and it becomes very difficult to push one over or backwards. It's something we see in rugby as well. If you are a rugby fan, when a forward goes in to take the ball from the opponent on the ground, he uses that exact same posture. It's very hard to push something back when they're sitting at that angle, that very 45 degree. Or mum's going to come sort them out. Come on, children, stop playing. Now they're going to pretend as if they weren't. They've been told. They're still going to have a bit of fun. Cousins. Yes. Oh, there we go. It is a very cool sighting. Love to see young animals showing off. Here comes other mum to say, stop it now. Auntie Joan has told you to stop it. Now stop it. Okay, mum. Give me some milk then. Going down on your knees also serves a purpose of suckling, as you can see. And quite incredible how every topi to me looks identical. Most animals look identical, the species that is, but youngsters know exactly who mum is, and mum knows exactly who the babies are. And quite often what will happen is the adult will, when they give birth, they keep the youngster away from the herd for a period of time until they've imprinted their smell. Both the youngster and the adult have imprinted their smell on each other, and then they can find each other in the herds. Zebras apparently imprint the stripe pattern, which is quite interesting. Possibly also the smell, but I've heard the stripe pattern, so that they know exactly who mum is. When you end up in herds of hundreds of animals, it's ideal to know who your mum is. There we go. The heron is looking very proud, very satisfied. He might have a moment of respite while he catches his breath. And you see how big the topi youngsters are now. It's got some blood on the beak, it does. He definitely gave that rat a good go. I don't know what species that was. It was hard to really identify. I don't really know my large rodents up here. If anybody is able to understand or identify whatever species of rodent that might have been, feel free to send it through. I know we do have some experts watching the show. It would be marvellous to know. But for now, good to see the size of prey that herons will actually catch. That is by far the biggest meal I've ever seen a heron catch. Very good. Well, we're going to continue on. We are in the open plains of the sort of swamp area. We're going to make our way over towards the North Clan and go and see exactly what it is that they're up to. But in the meantime, let's go back down to James Hendry on Bushwalk.
Hello again, everybody. Before we get into what we're looking at there, I must just correct myself. Sebastian informed me, and then I looked it up, that I was completely wrong about those spiders. They can regenerate their legs with each molt. And apparently, as long as a spider has at least one molt left in its life, when it loses a leg, it will at least regenerate a portion. And the new leg often takes 2 or 3 molts to properly form, but after 1 molt it may have a thin kind of semi-useful leg. I had absolutely no idea, so thank you very much for that question. I do apologize for telling you an untruth before. Now back to the silver cluster leaf tree. Now, we all know about the gall wasp that lives in this tree, a hymenopterid that stings the end of a branch, makes a gall, lives inside. Now this thing, however, I've always wondered about, and I've never managed to find anybody who can tell me what it is. And that is not necessarily because nobody can tell me what it is, but it's just because I haven't found them. Another hymenopterid species... What was that?
I'm not sure, something.
I think we're going to Brent.
Oh! Woodland's kingfisher. I think we got a view of it, but we'll get another view now. The first one on camera, so I'm told. I can't believe it's the first one on camera, and they've been making such a racket. How's that, Craig? There we go. Better light than where he was sitting anyway. Maybe not. There we go, the first woodland kingfisher of the year, on camera, of course. They've been around for a while, though. I mean, we've heard them calling the sound of summer. Very beautiful bird, the woodland kingfisher. And as their name suggests, they don't eat too many fish. But frogs and insects, caterpillars, all form part of their varied diet. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to find a nest. Well, everyone congratulating me, saying good job for finding the first one on camera. I think we should be congratulating Batman, who spotted this, and this particular one. Well done, Batman. Oh goodness, we're not going to hear the end of it from him now. Mrs. Lapring says, now I can go to sleep happy. It is always a treat. And of course, I think we're going to be seeing quite a lot more of them. And that chit is going to ring through the summer of the African bushveld. He's definitely on the hunt, on the prowl, as are we, but we are hunting for a leopard. Let's see, last tracks we had were... Oh, there's a jackal. Little side-striped jackal. We go forward a bit. Oh, they've gone into a bit of a bad spot. And let's just have a look. We can get another view. No, I think we're going to have to go around to get a view of the jackal. I actually saw them there yesterday, a pair of side-striped jackal. we'll go around to get a view of them. Just to make sure I'm not missing leopard tracks here. Judging by the size and where we are, I think it's probably Tingana. It came out from Torchwood onto Gari Main and then into Chitwa, but generally heading in an easterly direction. Just want to make sure he didn't sneak down one of these big paths. Nope. Alright, let's scoot about. Oh, busy morning so far. Inkahumas, ellies, hyenas, well, hyenas in the distance, and woodlands kingfisher. I'm about to say, if it lands, it's going to land, it's going to land. A European beta. Some lovely, you beta so-and-so. Why did you fly off? Okay, so let's go have a look at these jackal quickly. Always a treat to see a little side stripe jackal. Now, of course, unlike, I actually did see one side stripe jackal in the Mara, but way in the east, in the hills around the Sand River waterfall. But of course, the black-backed jackal being far more concerned with carrion and meat. Now, side stripe jackals will hunt a lot of small rodents, etc., but they have a far varied diet. They're far more omnivorous. And I think some of you have heard the story before. So when I was working in Zambia, I was running a couple of game farms there, and one of those areas was an island in Lake Kariba, and we wanted to put some predators on there, and there was some jackal outside on the mainland around the villages, and we got permits and whatnot to catch the jackal, and I was using impala innards as bait, and I set the trap, and all I caught was bush pigs when I was using meat, and eventually I gave up, and then we got a call from one of the villagers to come help with some problem bush pigs that were causing havoc amongst their crops, and I went and I put watermelon as my bait, and I caught side-striped jackal. So that jackal was about here, moving this way, just in this little thicket. I saw them here yesterday. So it looked like there was a pair here yesterday, so male and female. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they had puppies here? There's lots of good spots. Let's have a look. There. Let's just, sometimes they're a bit skittish, so let's get a safety from here. You see it through that gap there, Craig? In the exact same spot as where I saw them yesterday. However, a delivery truck came storming past and chased them off. They got a bit of a fright. Here we go. Hello. Little side stripe. Okay, we've got our safety. Let's sneak a little bit closer, just in case they run. They're normally okay with the game drive vehicles. It's when delivery vehicles come careering down the main road or building trucks that they tend to get a little bit nervous. But us sneaking up at the speed should be just fine and dandy. There we go. Hello. Where's the other one? As I said, there's a pair around here. Oh, look at those eyes. So pretty. Now, compared to their black-backed cousins, they're very, very quiet. They don't make nearly as much noise. And so their diet consists a lot more of insects and fruits. A great fan of jackalberry fruit. Imagine that. And that's where, obviously, the jackalberry gets its common name from, as jackals are often seen feasting upon the fruit as it falls to the ground. Oh, being a little bit nervous. You can see the side stripe and the very distinctive white tip to the tail. Very, very, very beautiful little carnivores. feeling a little nervous. Okay, while our jackal trots off, I'm going to keep seeing if we can find these leopard tracks. In the meantime, let's send you back to Commander Bond on foot.
Alrighty, back to our little story here of the silver cluster leaf. Now, what we do have is a green swelling here. Now, I spoke of the gall wasp, which is a hymenopterid from the order Hymenoptera. The ants are in the same order, the Hymenoptera, and I think that they have probably got some form of similar kind of a sting or bite that they've used to infect the tree here. It looks like it's been bitten on a leaf bud, and that leaf bud has then swollen into this rather kind of, it looks like a sort of glob of green, if you like. And inside that glob of green, these ants, I think, are living and feeding. So they've injected the plant with something that basically makes the plant make them some food to eat. And if you look to the left of it, you'll see some old ones. Now, I've always wondered what these are, and I haven't managed to find out what they are. Well, now we know. They are old ant nests. Isn't that amazing? Now, I'm assuming these ants eat the greenery that they've produced, or that they've made the plant produce quite cleverly. Alternatively, what might happen is that they attract aphids or something else like that. Hang on a second, we've just heard something. Sebastian, I think it's Herbert, not elephants. Yes, it is. It's Herbert. Don't worry. Where was I? Oh, yes, they may attract some sort of aphid, and they either eat or milk those. Very interesting. There are definitely two castes of ant there. You've got the black ones, and I don't know if they're the same, different castes, or maybe different species, actually, living on the same thing. Yes, indeed, Leah. Nests and food. Very impressive. So different from the gall wasp, and I'll see if I can find one of the galls. I can't see one on this silver cluster leaf, but they're basically little sort of bulbous bits on the end of twigs that have been stung by wasps, and the wasps then lay their eggs inside. Very nice. There is, of course, also the great friend of ours, Polyrhacus. Polyrhacus the ant is lurking around on this tree. I've seen her many times. Now she's hiding. There she is. See her there? Now here, right on the end here, next to my fingers. Polyrhacus, of course, its most notable feature, other than her dropped or downward-facing abdomen, is the fact that she tastes like a lemon drop. So you can, in fact, eat Polyrhacus. I've eaten one on a Nat Geo Wild TV show, in fact. The audience was not particularly pleased with me, I must confess. Which I think speaks volumes for the sensitivity of our audience. Fair enough. So that's Polyrhacus. Here's one of the galls. Let me just break this off here. So that's what the gall wasp looks like. Well, that's what its gall looks like. It stings the end. And then you can see there's a little entrance hole. But that's very different from the ant nest. Good. Very nice. I think that's it. Righty, David Gathamagitu has got a bird that is flying around in the Masai Mara. It has very short tail, flappy wings, and it likes to eat carrion.
Well, I've seen this eagle before, and like ago, and it flew away. James was just trying to frame it.
Sorry about that, everybody. There are obviously some difficulties in bringing you a high-definition signal from the wilderness, and we've lost signal with the Masai Mara. It's very irritating indeed. Sorry about that. Let's try and find something else to show you. Let's wander in here. We may try and go down towards that wildebeest carcass and see if we don't find some other kind of predator there. Might be quite fun. Maybe some hyenas have come in. Or there's some little blue wax bills on the top of that tree. That's such a lovely little whistling song. Alrighty, let's go off to the Vov, see if he can last a little bit longer than Gathamba Gethu.
Thanks, James. Well, we are nearly at the North Clan Den site. This is the one section that they used to be in, and they've moved just a little bit up around the corner. I'm just going to turn around and see exactly where they are. And a couple more hyenas just in the open plain earlier, giving the zebra a bit of a hard time. And they looked like they were just youngsters. They weren't really chasing them. Might also have been the balloon that flew past that got them all excited and they started running. But the other day found at least a couple members had moved a little bit more to sort of this side. But on our way through here, I did from a distance spot what I thought was the hyena research vehicle, but that was a bit further more that way. So maybe they are with more of the members. We'll have a look. This is an area, there was a little den right here. If I come just around the corner, that's where I saw one of the few. There we go, there's an adult. Carol, you want to know about species calls? Let me just position for you here. You happy, Bungay? You want to know, Carol, if a different species of predator will respond to the calls of a different species? Well, they most certainly will. I mean, everybody out here, everybody knows what a leopard sounds like, a lion and a hyena. And it's all about the different language, though. They might not understand what's being said, but they most certainly understand that it is a species that they might be sort of in conflict with. So a hyena get very excited when they see or hear lion, and they'll often call each other to arms with a series of different calls. And well, lion have got very similar calls that don't really sound too different from any other lion call. And well, that's more of a territorial sort of response. And you often see hyena sometimes will start calling when lion call, and sometimes lion will start calling after hyena start calling. It just moved. Animals just moved there. Let's just turn around here, see if we can get her again. But I don't really know what necessarily will come about it. But there we go. They most certainly do respond to each other, but sometimes maybe just out of defiance. Okay, so there's another den right here. I just saw a female pop her head out. Now she's gone and hidden. There she goes. She's coming around the side there. A whole lot of blood on her neck. She's going to go sit on that side. Well, I wonder if there's any cubs or pups. Cubs, pups. I never know really. You know what to call the youngsters. Little ones. And of course, the balloon tractor is going to come right past us. Thankfully, we love hanging out for the balloon tractor. Out of all the roads he could have gone, he's going to come right past the den site. That's marvellous. Anyway, we've got at least one hyena here. This is a North Clan Den. I haven't seen Waffles in some time. I'm sure she's around somewhere. Just up ahead on the left here is the last time I saw Waffles with her two little youngsters. They were playing for us lovely right here out in the open. Kelly, I'm not sure if they have been named. I don't think they have been named yet, but it is a question I was hoping to ask the researchers if I saw them here this morning. But I think they've gone. I don't know if they were a little bit further off. We definitely saw their car earlier. Just going to scan a little bit further, sort of west from where we are now. Maybe they were here and they left already and went the other way, and that's what we spotted. They come out every day, twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon, to do sort of observations of the hyena and see what's going on and all sorts of behavioral stuff. And one of the best jobs that they have is they collect hyena poo. Okay, yes indeed, they have been named. After sugars. One has been named Ilovo, which is oh, here comes another hyena at the back there. One is called Ilovo, which is a South African brand of sugar. And I think actually that was in honor of Jamie, because Ilovo is a South African brand. And interestingly enough, Wild Earth headquarters are in Ilovo in Johannesburg. So how funny is that? So here comes one hyena coming back to join. You might see or hear a tractor coming in from the background. To apologize for that in advance. And the other name is a sugar name as well, because obviously waffles is waffles, and well, you put sugar on waffles, don't you? So Ilovo is a type of syrup that we find in South Africa, that kind of syrup that you'd put on pancakes. Okay, so there's going to be some behavior here between these two. You can see he's not showing submissive behavior really. He's coming in with a little bit of a head wobble. But there we go. The tail tucked between the legs. Do apologize about the tractor. I have no idea why they're coming through this area. Really, really not very nice of them to do so. The hyenas don't like the sound of that tractor, surely. And now we can just watch them move off a slight distance. Bearing in mind the park is open to many vehicles. And the balloons are flying every morning, and they've landed just up ahead. They've got a little breakfast site that they have up there, or a bit of a champagne breakfast. And well, I don't think they come through this route very often, because if they did, the hyenas wouldn't have responded to the noise of that vehicle the way that they did. And here the female is about to come back to the den there. Unfortunately, no cubs to be seen. Somewhere out here. No, Waffles will be hiding or spending a bit of a siesta. No doubt they've been out busy in the evening searching for food. What have you got there, Bongay? Have you lost it? There we go. We've got one female here anyway. She's back in the light. Back to her previous position. Standing vigil around the den. I can't believe how fat the hyenas always look here. They're always very, very round, very full. Beverly, there's possibly two reasons why hyenas have got such short back legs. One of the reasons is we were talking about sort of with the topee before, about how they go down on their back, on their front knees. They get that sort of angle, that elevation. Well, that enables sort of power moving. You can't push it backwards. So hyenas got the reverse of that, when they actually stand the same as a topee would, as a wildebeest would, with shorter back legs and longer front legs. It enables them to have endurance. It's all about moving forward, powerful moving forward, and long distance endurance running. It also enables the hyena to elevate themselves off the ground with that same sort of strength that the topee has by pushing itself forward. The hyena's got that by pushing itself front legs up, and it can actually carry quite a large carcass in their jaws while running at quite some speed. So it gives them that leverage. When you watch a leopard or a lion dragging something, it's quite awkward. They kind of walk with it and they drag it and they're kind of tripping over it all the time, whereas the hyena's got the stronger upward sort of posture in the front, and actually elevates the carcass off the ground and enables them to actually physically run at quite some speed in a straight line. Whereas a leopard, if you see them walking, it's that constant sort of drag, tripping over the carcass that's dangling between their legs. So that is one of the things. Endurance running, and then also the ability to drag large carcasses. There might be other reasons for it. I'm not 100% sure what else there might be. But for now, this individual is enjoying some sunshine. It wasn't a cold morning, but they always do enjoy a little bit of sun in the morning. There's a couple more hyena over there. Let's see if there are any youngsters. At least two. The den site seemingly scattered throughout this open area. Wherever there's some form of hole in the ground, hyenas will occupy. Seemingly quite young individuals that side. Okay, well, while we try and figure out who is who in the zoo, let's go back down to Brent and see if he's had any luck with his leopard tracking.
Unfortunately, no luck with those leopard tracks. It looks like they might have gone into Chitwa Lodge itself. So I'm going to roll the dice, gamble slightly, head to the north into Torchwood, and see if we can have some Tandi and Salamba luck. You never know unless you go look. And that was definitely proven yesterday with those 3 Nkomo ladies that had been sitting on a zebra kill for 2 days, and we didn't know because we just hadn't been into that area. So I'm going to start on a sort of rhino cut line, which is about as far to the east as we can go, and slowly work my way back towards the west, towards Chuma. Maybe we will have some luck with leopards there. It has been a very beautiful and busy morning thus far in both the Sabi Sands and the Masai Mara. Bouncy, bouncy. Okay. I'm gonna go a bit quicker along here to get down to the eastern sections of Torchwood. And fingers crossed that we do have some leopard luck while on Torchwood. Very aptly named property. There are a lot of big Balanites trees on Torchwood, which is of course a Torchwood. Okay, well, I go in search of some spotty kitties. Let's send you across to Commander Bond, who's stomping around in the bush.
Stomping around, yes, and we've come to the wildebeest carcass, or what remains of it. This, of course, the bolus from the stomach. So all of this was grass, either about to be or probably has already been re-chewed and sent back down into the chambers of the stomach. You can see it's very finely chewed. There'll be bacteria all over it. That is very useful to any ruminant animal. Very finely chewed, so I think this is re-chewed stuff. Some of it looks a little bit less fine than others. So maybe bits of it actually hadn't been re-chewed. I don't know. Definitely some bits. Anyway, what I wanted to really show you here was the fact that the dung beetles have arrived. You can see this bit of soil here indicates the, what are they called? Now, these are the teleopterids, the ones that bury the dung underneath where it sits. So instead of rolling a ball and going away or living actually in the dung, they bury it underneath. And that's what they're doing there. I don't want to dig them out because, of course, that would be unpleasant for them. But because it's not just grass, there are all sorts of stomach juices as well. You will see that there are flies, including those blue bottle flies, which are quite attractive until you look at them really closely, at which point they look terrifying. Superb vision they have, the flies, of course. able to see almost 360 degrees around them with those thousands of lenses that they have. You may also just be able to hear in the background the sound of the bearded woodpecker tapping away on his tree. Right, so this was the bolus. Now, Paula, some dung beetles can get very big, about that big. It's about 2 inches long. It would be an enormous dung beetle, one you should avoid. Then the other indigestible bits of this carcass, of course, are the hair. This is the hair from the tail, looks to me, or the beard. It is quite coarse. I don't want to touch it, of course, because it's got lion gob on it, and probably various other bits of wildebeest viscera, which are not particularly delicious. All right, and then the final resting place for the rest of the carcass seems to have been down here. I think this is probably where you met the lions this morning. Very unfortunate that they've decided to head off south out of the reserve. There's certainly a very strong smell of innards around these parts. Yes, indeed. All that we have left here is a scapula. There we go. A bit of scapula and a bit of one of the legs. It looks like... I'm not very good at this, as you all know. That looks like a hind leg to me. Little bit of hind leg. Bad luck. Poor old Wildy. They have got into the marrow. Let's see if I can lift that up a bit. There's still a bit of marrow left there, actually. That's interesting. See the marrow in there? That there, everyone, is the bone marrow. And while it might look disgusting now, it is highly, highly nutritious. Not really. As Louise says, cooked and put on a bit of toast, it's delicious. Yes, I agree. Marrow on toast, absolutely wonderful. Fatty, full of nutrients, actually much better for you than the meat. Hungry, Herbert? Not really. Good, and then there's another nice little bit of stuff here. Also being buried by dung beetles. Dung beetles, of course, are not limited to dung. They will eat other things as well. They will eat carrion. Various species will eat carrion. And that's what's going on here. I don't know what that is. It looks like might be the kidney, actually, of the fetus. This was a pregnant wildebeest. So that might be what that is. Louise is saying, no, the lion ate the whole fetus. Well, I don't know what that is then. It's fairly disgusting. Then we have some ants. Now look at these ants here. I think these are not carnivorous ants. I think that these ants are vegetarian because I've seen them around dung before. Yes, in fact, they have a nest. I think what they're doing, in fact, is raiding, if I'm not mistaken, some termites that have lived in this old dung here. Yes, there they are. I can see them. I can see the baby termites that they're carrying off into their nests. Nasty, nasty, horrible ants. Can you see the little termites, the poor little bits of white that are being dragged down to a dreadful fate? Poor little guys. Unless they're actually coming out of the termite mound and taking them elsewhere from here. I'm not sure. I think they're taking them in there, though. And there they'll be killed, eaten, hung up on the butcher's hooks. I always find this a bit sad, really. It's funny, I don't seem to become inured to it. one always thinks you've kind of got used to this stuff and that you can look at it purely unemotionally and biologically, and then you watch something like this and you realize, no, it doesn't quite work like that. I'm sure it's different for some people. But I can't help imagining myself being a little termite, minding my own business in a nice piece of elephant dung, only to be set upon by this gang of biting ants, which have now bitten me too. And you can just imagine them, the terror of their pincers biting into you again and again. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and contemplate the cruelty of the ants while you go across to the Marsi Mara with the Vov.
Thanks, James. Well, how interesting. Bone marrow on toast. Well, that sounds intriguing. I wonder if he's going to be taking some of that home for the morning. I know for one thing, this female hyena would love a little bit of bone marrow. We're sitting and standing vigil, hoping to see if any youngsters will pop their heads out somewhere. But so far, nothing yet. Just this one. And the other two we saw in the distance. Nothing else has occurred. There's still been a relatively cool morning, so maybe majority of the adults are still out foraging, hunting, and we'll be back shortly. We'll often be greeted by excitement as the youngsters emerge once again. Been kept up in the holes for a long time, waiting for the adults to come back. So the hyena ladies have arrived, so we'll be having some chats with them in a moment to see exactly what the other name is for Waffle's other little youngster. Any other insight we might be able to get from the Michigan State University. There is, we don't know who that is. I really struggle to identify hyena. Really do. I have to spend a lot of time with them to get a good idea of exactly who is who. Well, that one's head is flat. Down and out it is. And hopefully we get a little bit more of a view of one of these individuals who pops their head out, and well, hopefully the youngsters will come out. There's been lots and lots of activity around the den site in the last few months. Many people have spent a lot of hours here observing them. The little youngsters generally always come out and play, but only once the adults return. That seems to be a youngster though, over there. I don't think it has got a dent. There's another one in the background. Sorry, Lou, I didn't quite get your question there from Michael. Ooh, Michael, I don't know. I don't personally know what the sexes are, but I'll be sure to ask these ladies now when I get a chat with them. I mean, it's very difficult to identify hyenas when they're young. Really hard to identify them. They've both got sort of an extended clitoris, which looks like a penis. And while it could be a penis, it also could be a pseudo-penis. So very hard to, when they're young, to be able to identify that. There might be some small signs that you can also look at as well, but I'm unsure. Identifying young hyenas, well, from a sex point of view, even adults these days, it's very hard to really get your head around it. They are that one confusing species that could be either male or female. There's so many conflicting sort of stories out there about size, about testosterone. The behavior often is the giveaway. But you need to spend a lot of time with them. I wonder if that one is going to come over and say hello. It's enjoying a little bit of shade, I suppose. I don't know, that's a little bit further out of the way than I'm familiar with the den site being. But the dens move. They will move into areas. I mean, the other den site's about 60 odd yards sort of to the left of us. and they've moved it a little bit further over. Obviously parasites and smells and all sorts of things that accumulate in the den are cause for adults to move the youngsters around. You can just make out in the back there's a few people there and a few cars. That is the main road where the balloon landed, where that tractor was headed to pick up the huge balloon basket. It will then be transported back to wherever they store it. But the vastness of the Mara, apart from a few people, is very, very, very cool. We're in this low-lying area regarded as the swamp. You can see the tree line at the background there. It's a little bit more elevated. So down here where you can sort of see the small shrubs, this is all a very, very big swamp that in high rainfall periods it gets very, very wet and inundated. And another reason why the hyena would move their dens. Apparently they moved a few times this last year, and it was quite something for people to find them again. To get into these areas was very, very difficult. The soil is thick black cotton soil, and when water gets inside those burrows it becomes a real mess. Okay, well, while we see if we can figure out who these hyena are, let's go over to David, who's on the search for the Sausage Tree Pride.
Well, welcome back, and we're just on a small lager here to our left, and we might have seen a leopard. If James, you can pan a little bit in this lager here, the birds are going back, and there's a lot of alarm calls here, and we cannot see exactly what it is, but it must have been a leopard. When we got here, I just saw the tail very quickly, and the tail disappeared, but it was 100% a leopard. But what is interesting, another 50 meters behind us, we got some 2 cubs of lions. And I want to turn around and we have a look at those 2 cubs, because I have officially landed and arrived in the Sausage Republic. And what is happening, we have had some theories, because in the sausage family, we lost 1 cub a few weeks ago. And I had a theory it could have been either another predator like a leopard or a hyena. I'm now getting almost very convinced it could have been a leopard, because this leopard that I just saw was so close to those cubs. And I don't see the mothers or the mother of this cub here. 1 minute. Now the cubs are right there. But I do not know where the mother is. I don't want to call her careless mother, but where is she to have left or to leave these cubs like this, which makes them very vulnerable? That leopard was just 20 meters away from these cubs here, and there are the little cubs. I don't know where the mother is, and I got a feeling that leopard was trying to sneak on these cubs. Not sure why my monitor now is upside down, but those are the 2 cubs there. Excellent, James. And now these are the ones that we think are 3 months old. But where is the mother? I would say this is a bit careless, and definitely I would just guess she must have gone, or they must have gone hunting with the other members of this pride. One other female in the pride of the sausage, called Limpy, had 2 cubs initially, but now she only got 1, and nobody knows exactly what happened to the other one. But we had, as I said, a few theories, or personally I had my own theories, and I'm trying to think, unfortunately, maybe it's the leopard that brought one down, and it was trying to do it again, because she was barely 20 meters when we got here, and we first spotted the leopard run, and we go like, leopard, leopard. But it's a very skittish leopard, unlike the leopards you see in South Africa, in Juma. But shortly after we saw the leopard disappear, I told James, look, we got 2 leopard cubs there. No, 2 lion cubs. Well, they belong to the Sausage Pride, for those who have never joined us before. And remember, this is a very interactive safari. Keep talking to us. #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. But now, Cabbage, if you could only talk to me and tell me where your mother is, I would be a very happy person. But one thing I would say for a fact, they must have gone to get themselves some breakfast. But this makes it pretty dangerous for the cubs at this age to be left on their own. I want to turn around and just drive along this laga and find out if the mothers are anywhere. Otherwise, that leopard might come back. And like you say, beautiful cubs, and yes, they are beautiful, but I'm just a little bit worried to know where the mother could be. One other female has much smaller cub than these two here, which is about 2 months. But where are they? Where do they leave them in this kind of position, which is a bit tricky for me. But also I want to turn around and see if we could see that leopard again. And hopefully the mothers will not take long before they come. What I've always noticed with the lionesses, when they go out for a hunt, they'll always leave one back, because with such a big pride of 5 females, one female would have stayed back to keep an eye on these cubs and not expose them to the dangers of other predators like hyenas or, leopard, like the leopard we just saw here a few minutes ago. I only saw the tail and she took off, and she must be a very either young leopard or a bit skittish. That's a good question. Why are these cubs not in a den? I would say if I was the mother of these cubs, I would leave them in a den, which is much secure. But you never know at what circumstances the mother left them there. Either there's a prey that came up very quickly, or there's a bit of frustration in the pride and they had to move and go hunt. Or maybe if they were given instructions to stay in a den or in a lago in a particular place, and then they decided on their own to disobey the mother, there could be a possibility that happened. But what I've known for many years, if the lions will go for a hunt and they have small little cubs, they'll always advise them, stay here, stay put, and don't move. But now, that's very interesting. I haven't seen those cubs in that particular position on their own for a very long time. I've always seen them together with the mother or with the other lionesses. This is the laga that I want to switch off the engine here, and you can hear all those birds shouting there and all those calls. And what I'm saying, I'm sure these birds can see the leopard that I cannot see. The leopards have been known to hide very much, and possibly we're thinking it's somewhere in this area where that leopard could be. Well, we'll keep trying and drive along this area, and hopefully these sausages or these females should come. Did you see anything there, James? Alrighty. Okay. We'll stick along this laga and keep driving along it, and maybe hope to see this leopard or this female should come back and take care of the cubs, because I think that's a very dangerous place to leave them. It would happen. We have what you call predator competition, and if a leopard get an opportunity to eat a lioness cub, I mean, she would. If lions get same opportunities to get a leopard or a cheetah cub, they have done it. So it will be nothing out of the ordinary. But where did the leopard go and where did the lions go? I'll just cross fingers that these lionesses will come back pretty fast, because if they don't, I'm trying to imagine that leopard might come back and sneak on one of those cubs. It's normal, it happens a lot. You only feel sorry for the cubs and the mother. But I'm imagining we still have lots of zebras and wildebeest around this area where we are, as much as most of them have gone back to Tanzania. But lions, where are you, lionesses, and why do you leave your cubs like that? Because out of 5 females, my guess is one of them would stay back, keeping an eye. Yeah, I'm equally worried because what I've done now, I have done about a mile one way from those cabs, or rather half mile this way and half mile the other side. And I can very well see the other side of the lager, and I cannot see them. I do not see any animal or any predator that would have intimidated those lions to leave their cubs. Not possible. Lions will always defend their cubs very much. So that's a bit interesting to me, or is a bit worrying to me not to see the mothers close to their cubs. Because those cubs at that age, they're very tender and it's very delicate to be left on their own. I'm just hoping those lionesses are somewhere feeding, but normally after they make a hunt and they bring the prey down, one of them, and more so the mother, will always go and call the cub because there'll be too much food for the other finish. But now here, all the 5 are not here, you know. So I want to go back to the same cubs and then make on the side. Just scan on those trees there, on the horizon, those trees, and see if we can see anything. Just so we want to be staying here and scan and see whether we might see these lionesses. But in the meantime, we'll take you back to South Africa to James, and hopefully we're going to find out where these females are.
What we have here is an expired fruit chaffer. And the expired fruit chaffer is very slowly being carried towards the nest of some ants. Now, where their nest is, I couldn't tell you. And why they are taking so long over the process, I'm not sure. Now, ants, of course, are famed to be able to move things that are 1,000 times their own weight. Dung beetles 850 times their own weight. Now, this is a function, I've just read, if you can believe it or not, I can read, of the cross-sectional area of the muscle. I don't know what that means. And not the volume of the muscle. So proportionately, that is why ants are so much stronger than us or elephants, and why we are proportionately, for our mass, stronger than elephants. Louise says she thinks it means that the muscle density is higher. I think it might have something to do with that. I think it's also got to do with the leverage. The cross-sectional surface area. And Louise is also trying to dip back into her scientific training to figure it out. And she says more muscle fiber per inch or per unit. I don't know what it is. Anyway, that's what's going on here. You can see that this is not the first time that these ants have used this little path. If you look along here, you can see that they've used it before. And I say that because they're moving basically along a track. Now, I suspect we have ruined their track by walking up the sand here. And I don't know where on earth they're taking this poor fruit chaffer, which didn't make it through the summer. Well, I must confess I agree with you, Lauren. You say that it looks like maybe they aren't working together, that they're pulling in opposite directions. Certainly it does seem that that is the case, although slowly the fruit chaffer is moving in a southerly direction along the drainage line. I mean, we could sit here for a very long time watching this. Louise says this is democracy in motion. I think this is not democracy, Louise. I think this is socialism in motion. Slowly getting to the goal, but everybody's not really pulling in the same direction. They're supposed to be, but they're not. And it's quite possible that this very large project initiated by the central governing body will not come to fruition. This looks like one of our government-run businesses in operation here. Very slow, ponderous, inefficient. This needs to be privatized, this operation. I, of course, don't know what I'm talking about. My knowledge of economics is basically, I've just given you my entire knowledge of economics. I've just given it to you right there in less than 2 sentences. Beautiful colours, though. Lovely iridescent colours on this fruit chaffer. And that is what initially caught my eye when we walked past here. Beautiful, perfect little morning out here on Saturday. Couple of birds calling, nice and warm, not too hot yet. Very pleasant. Surprised we haven't seen any elephants. I hope that we will spot a few before the end of our drive. Yes, Shah, I think the beetle probably was dead when the ants took it. It's very unlikely that these little chaps would have managed to overpower this beetle. I think the beetle probably would have just flown away. Unfortunately, it has flown its last. Now, it will, of course, be found, it's called a fruit chaffer, but it's not necessarily found on fruit, possibly found on the yellow flowers of Peltophorum africanum, or the weeping wattle. They're just coming into flower now, and they do often have these fruit chaffers sitting thereupon. I think we should move on now, don't you, Sebastian? Sebastian is nodding. Okay, on we go. Let me reattach my, what they say in Afrikaans, gedunte, bits and pieces, and proceed up the riverbed. Herbert is waiting patiently up ahead. I think he's had a fairly frustrating morning. We haven't managed to find any real tracks to follow. There are some elephant tracks here. We'll see if they terminate at an elephant while you go back to Brent Leo Smith.
Well, we've heard some monkeys alarm calling, and we're in Torchwood in the area where I think Tundi and Kalamba are. The monkeys are jumping up in this marula. There's some more behind us, but they've gone a bit quiet now. And one problem is they could have spotted her from a vast distance. You can just see that moving branches. They've stopped alarming now. And this is the area, as I said, I think Tundi is in. Just trying to listen carefully. Let's just move forward a bit. I haven't seen any tracks yet. It's quite open here, so they could be alarming after spotting her at quite a distance, sort of a couple of 100 meters. They tend to be looking, this one tends to be looking this way, the other one was looking towards this one. Let's see if there's any tracks about. Nothing just yet. Monkeys have gone quiet now. We're just going to keep checking through this area very slowly and stopping and listening and stopping and listening. So we might get lucky with some impala alarm calls or kudu alarm calls if she is close by. Okay, I'm going to stop here for another little listen. While I do that, we're going to send you all the way back to the Mara, to GG, with those lonely little lions.
Well, Brent, turned you to lumber, always an exciting princess and prince to watch. The queen and princess to watch, but now my cabs have disappeared again. I want to find out if they have gone inside this lugger here. And they were just here a couple of minutes ago. Let's find out, James, if you pan to the right there, what we see. It's always nice to see the Queen of Juma and the Princess. Brent, hopefully gonna see them because like my cabs now have disappeared again. I just left them here a couple of minutes ago, or they might have gone to where they were meant to go. Nothing there. James, if you turn to the left, can you see anything? No. Okay. We'll just keep looking at this lugger, but it's rather strange not to see them. And most likely they must have done what they were told by the mother to do, stay either in a den or some kind of cave, which could be much secure for them. But now I still have the do you mean you think whether they could have been abandoned? I do not think so. Lions do not abandon their cubs unless they have to, or there's an issue of drought or starvation. Lions will always stick and support their cubs and raise them as much as they can. And if you're a mother carrying cubs for 3 months, you do not want to lose them for no reason. So unless there's a concern of predation, that could be another reason. Lions will always do the best they can to keep their cubs and raise them to maturity. So just trying to find out where they might have gone. But I think by their tiny, tiny, small sizes, if they have entered in a den, that could be more or less it. And the only other thing we'll be looking for will be the fully grown ones or the mother. No, they have just disappeared in this lugger here, and I think it could be a good idea for them to hide away from that sneaky leopard that we saw. So let's just keep trying to search for them. But so interesting because we had them a few seconds ago or a few minutes ago when we went looking for the parents, and no sign of the parents either. And we're going to keep searching for them. And let's find out what type of kingfisher James got.
Well, I've got the type of kingfisher that we're really happy to see at the beginning of the summer and really pleased to be rid of come the end of April. It is the woodland kingfisher. And it is showing us its white breast at the moment. It was showing us its halcyon blue back end. And I'm now hoping that it might call for us. There's another one up in the big jackleberry tree that it's sitting in. It was making a little bit of a call. There's the halcyon blue, you can see it. Let us try and induce it to call by saying, chip purr, chip purr, chip purr. This beautiful red beak. No. Not going to call. Yes, Lauren, indeed, another woodland kingfisher. You say you enjoy them so much. Well, that's probably because you don't live here. I'm being slightly facetious, but come the end of summer, it's quite relieving when they stop calling, I must say, because they will get extremely vociferous, and they will start shouting their heads off for basically 3 months, and they don't stop shouting their heads off. It's particularly loud in areas where there are lots of mapani trees, because the mapani trees have got holes in them, more holes in them than other trees that we have here. There he is again. There's quite a lot going on in this tree actually. There are birchall starlings, green wood hoopoes. Looks like a possible hardydale's nest. Beautiful. It's really the kind of place you want to sit down and have yourself a little picnic breakfast. Ravinda, the number of kingfisher species we have are woodland kingfisher, brown-hooded kingfisher, striped kingfisher in theory, grey-hooded kingfisher, pied kingfisher, possibly giant kingfisher, pygmy kingfisher, possibly malachite kingfisher. So we're looking at 8 species of kingfisher. And of course the great irony of all that is that only 2 of them eat fish. Those being 3 of them, sorry, the malachite, the pied, and the giant. It's right next to us now, Seb. If you just swing slowly to your right, right there, just there, and now it's flown away, because that is what the woodland kingfisher does. Okay, let's continue, shall we? All the rest of the kingfishers either eat insects or reptiles. This guy will eat insects or reptiles. Justin, I have imitated a woodland kingfisher already. It goes like this. I will sound exactly like a woodland kingfisher. Chip purr, chip purr, chip purr. It sounds exactly like that. Sort of. Louise says I get an E for effort for that. Okay, Justin, it goes like this. It goes... Chip, purr, chip, purr. Now, if I keep doing that again and again and again, you will eventually start feeling like smacking me upside the head. So I shan't do it again. All right, let us go to the Vov, who has found a scavenger of the canine, not canine, that was something else.
Yes, well, thanks, James. We have indeed found a pair of jackal out in the open here. We've left the den site after having a chat with the hyena researchers. They actually hadn't been at the den site when we'd spotted their car. They had been originally, and then they followed the clan as the clan hunted, pursued and killed a baby zebra. Well, I'm kind of glad we didn't manage to spend time with the clan while they ripped apart a young zebra, because that would have just been quite something to witness this morning. Seeing them kill adults is something, but to see a hyena clan completely eviscerate and eat up a young zebra would have probably been too much for us to see. But anyway, we moved off to this area. The clan had moved off, as we'd probably thought. That's why it was so quiet. So there was no one there. They were off hunting. They were eating a zebra. And there we go. So it was somewhere in this area. Apparently they'd finished feeding. The ladies came back to us that side. And I at least got a little bit of the lowdown on the clan itself. The clan has moved slightly in their sort of den site sort of movements, very close to the same area. And the 2 cubs of Waffles are called Ilovo, who is a young male, and Grenadine. He's got a little notch on one of the ears. She is a female, of course. And so the way to identify a young male and female hyena is they've both got a phallus. Yes, a phallus. The female has got a pseudopenis with pseudoballs, and it's a little bit more blunt than that of the male. So you've got to look at the phallus for a very long time to be able to see which one is blunter. So it's quite tricky with youngsters. I'm sure after a period of time and much observation, you'll be able to identify the difference between male and female. But thankfully, the hyena research is able to give us that information, because I haven't spent enough time with those youngsters, let alone enough time to look at their private parts. And, well, they were still hiding in the den, no doubt, while Waffles led the charge of the North Clan on their hunt for a young zebra. Sad indeed for the zebra, but necessary food for the clan. And always very interesting to come across or to hear tales of hyena hunting, because they are formidable hunters, not just scavengers, as everybody believes them to be. But I still do believe that's quite area specific up here in the Mara. The food availability and the clan size allows them to be hunters much more so than they are down in Djuma, when we never find them hunting. They probably do. Yes, Waffles' lineage Lauren, indeed, she has a female, and so her lineage, well, we hope will continue. Because for those of you out there, the parent, what happens in a hyena clan is generally the daughter and the son, invariably, inherits the mum's sort of status. So she has got a daughter who will probably be passed on the reign of the clan, but who knows? It is trying times in places like this, and anything can happen. Obviously, hyena have got a much more successful breeding rate than lion. The Sausage Tree Pride just hiding their cubs in a drainage line. The North Clan have got burrows in the ground. There's always someone keeping vigil. Excuse me. So hopefully those two youngsters will come of age. And will they indeed inherit, or will she indeed inherit Mum's title? Time will tell. So we've turned around back into the marsh, or the swampy area. I'm still hoping to maybe bump into the elusive, as ever, Owino Pride. Kelly, as far as I'm aware, the female will have the higher ranking. If there's only a male born to Waffles, he invariably will have a higher rank within the clan. But invariably it is the female youngster that will take over from her mum. That is the information I have. Obviously there's lots and lots of more information out there in contrasting stories about the fact that actually matriarchs can be patriarchs, and well, it's all quite confusing, to be honest. Invariably it is the female that takes over and will dominate the clan, but you know, there is a lot still to be learned about hyenas, and well, I would like to know more about it myself. But invariably, well, what are these topi looking at? These topi are looking quite intently at something. I was hoping to bump into the Owino Pride again. This is how you find them, you just randomly bump into them. Topi are all looking to my right hand side. Okay, well, while we move on and see what it is we can find here, let's go back down to James, who's loving the small things this morning.
I am very much loving the small things, and what we have here is a longhorn beetle that had a very big night out last night. It was Friday, and clearly party time in the longhorn world. He's trying to make his way home, and unfortunately he's lost himself one of his antennae on the way. Whether it was to gangsters, a fight, or perhaps just, you know, a little bit too much time in the gutter, I don't know. But this poor chap has lost himself an antenna. So that is a longhorn beetle, and he has got fused elytra, as you can see. He is not a flying beetle, and so his forewings, the front wings, have fused to form a protective shell, or elytra, around him. So he's a flightless, wandering beetle. He really is not very cooperative. He also doesn't know where he's going. No, I didn't drop him on his head, Louise. I did maybe drop him on his back, but not on his head. He's okay. I mean, he's had a big night out. He needs a little bit of a wake-up. Now, that is extremely exciting news about Wafflies. Wafflies, of course, has now got an heir to her throne in the form of young Grenadine, which is very exciting. I thought maybe those were two males. I guessed that they were two males. I didn't actually see their parts that might allow me to actually verify that, but clearly I was wrong. One male and one female. That's very exciting for Wafflies, and indeed for the clan. And so the intrigue continues. Who will take over the matriarchy? Will Waffles be able to raise this little Grenadine to an adult before she must shuffle off this mortal coil? Or will Soup step in and take the matriarchy for herself? That's the story we're trying to spin anyway. Good. Yes, we had a comment there. What was that about the... Who was it from? About the poor little longhorn moving in circles. I've now changed the channel on my radio, so I'm not going to hear it. Never mind. Sorry about that. Did we get it? Mrs. Lapwing, you said, will he be stuck walking in circles? No, I don't think so. He's actually wandered off, unless he's climbed into my camera bag. Right. This is so nice in summer when the little beetles start to come out and give us entertainment. There's much more to see in the summertime. Righty. I believe we are going to go back to David, who is unfolding the mystery of the lion cubs and the disappearing leopard. It's almost as intriguing as waffles.
Apple. Well, I have finally decided to give up on searching for the female lionesses, but I think I might have spotted some male lions at this particular minute we're talking, and these males might try and explain the mystery of the disappearance of the girls, because well, the females there, yes, it's the females there, and these are the sausages. I think my mission has been accomplished, but my worry is this is a long way from where those cubs are. James, if you allow me just to go a little closer, and we might try and get the composition of these lions here, because those two cubs are too young to be on their own. And I just stopped and told James, are those lions up there? And like we put a camera there, and yes they are. And let's find out, are they males, are they females, and if they're females, which females? Because of the sausage tree pride, we have been able to identify at least 3 positively. We have the king-tail female, which has a knot on her tail. We have another one that limps, that we call her limpy. And there's one particular one that has a huge scar on the neck there, and she is pregnant. So at least those 3, I can tell 100%. But now, let's find out who these are and know why they have left the cubs that far and on their own, or are they not part of the sausages? Is it good there? Okay, James, it's good. Do you want me to give you a different angle, James? So that's fine. Okay, let's get close. You can see 2, or maybe 3, which is about to give up on the search. Tracy, yes, finally, these are the sausages and these are all the girls. And I'm going to ask them a question, Tracy, as you're also asking me a question. And I'll give you an answer. I'm not sure you're going to like my answer. And my answer would be no. As much as my heart will be with those cubs, my answer will be no. I will not, Tracy, do anything, because this is how things play out here. One, that leopard needs to live, and she needs to, you know, get some food for herself. But at the same time, I would want that cub to live, to be a fully grown lioness, or but because we know they're boys or they're males, to be fully grown males or to be fully grown adults, like this sausage pride tree that we have here. Now we got 2 there, or 3 on the frame, and if James, you move slightly bit to the left on your camera, you'll see the 4th one. So these are the other way, Jim? Yeah, the left, yes. Keep going. There's another one there. There's another female there. And it's about to be half a mile. Keep going, James, to the left. Okay. You don't, maybe go the other way. Sorry. Keep going. I thought I saw another female there. All right. My monitor seems to be in the reverse, James. Go the other way. And we're going to see the 4th. 5 females that are in the sausage tree pride. Maybe keep going. There's one more female somewhere. It's there. Turn pan there. Under that broken tree. I think, yeah, you can see there's another lioness there. Excellent. Very good. Now that to me makes 4. And in total, the sausages are always 5. And for those who are joining us now, this particular pride is called the sausage tree pride, because they love, or they like, climbing sausage trees. Sausage trees are very iconic trees of the Mara Triangle. Or when they want to run away from the flies on the day she is looking at is where those two cubs are. To me, that's a long way. I would say that could be half a mile away from where they are, or almost a mile. I don't know what these lionesses are thinking today, because that's exposing them to lots of dangers. And talking of hyenas, or the one leopard that we just saw. Lions are going to speak the lion language today and tell them a good mother should be very close to her cubs, to her babies. They need to go back there, because what they're doing to me, they're looking at the direction where the cubs are, but that does not help them. Again, just one more last look before we let them see hopefully whether they're going to go join the cubs. And a good mother should be close to the cubs, not staying such a long distance. So a half a mile to 1 mile to me is a long way for those cubs. So sausages, please, I've been instructed or requested to talk to you in the lion language. Please go stay close to your cubs, because there's a leopardess there and she might get one of your cubs. That leopardess to me was only 20 meters away from those two cubs. And I thought she'd be somewhere eating, and I don't see you eating. So go take care of your cubs. I know you do a very good job. So one of the females here, I'm not sure she's part of the group here, is pregnant, and we're expecting her to have cubs anytime. Well, sausages will be leaving you now to spend nicely your day and make sure you go close to your cubs. But I'll be back here this afternoon to find out whether you have reunited with your cubs. But in the meantime, Brent is trying to get us spotted.
Welcome back. Unfortunately, it's been a bit fruitless. Those monkeys chat up, and we haven't been able to find any sign of leopards. We've done a couple of loops through this area. Doesn't mean they're not there, it just means we couldn't find them. There is a possibility those monkeys might have spotted something like a serval slinking through the grass. This is a good area for serval on Torchwood, and had a bit of a false alarm. So they didn't alarm call for very long, less than 5 minutes, and they stopped. So who knows, it's going to have to remain a mystery what they were alarming at. It's not often they would alarm at serval, but they do sometimes get a bit confused when they see a small spotty cat slinking through the grass. But we're going to keep checking. As I say, Thandi and Kalamba, I'm pretty sure somewhere in this area here. Carol's wondering, do I think Thandi is coming to Eastrus or might be coming into Eastrus again soon? Carol, it's a strong possibility that she might be coming to Eastrus soon. I think if she was in Eastrus, we would have heard about it. Mating leopards are anything but subtle. They make a heck of a lot of noise and go at it quite frequently, every 15 minutes or so. So between the different areas that we traverse, I'm pretty sure someone would have heard or seen them mating, even if she went up to the north. And there's a few game drive vehicles around there, and if she went down to the south, almost certainly she would have been found out. So maybe coming into Eastrus quite soon would be my guess. She might not, of course. She might wait till Columba's a bit older, but Thandi in the past seems to come into Eastrus when her cubs get to just over a year or so. What is that track? It is a hyena. Oh, I was hoping we'd find sitting on top of a termite mound enjoying the early morning light. That would be an ideal one, but or Tlalamba doing the same. But unfortunately, nothing just yet, so we're going to stop for a little listen, see if we can hear anything. Although it's getting to that time of morning where they're going to start slowing down. They're not going to be moving as much unless they're very hungry. Very quiet up here on the crest. You can hear a few little redback sharks sitting. Red-crested koran in the distance. Almost time for the suicide dances. But very quiet up here compared to down around the rivers. Well, we're going to keep searching till the very last second. In the meantime, let's send you back to James, who's looking at some ellie feeding activity.
We are looking at some ellie feeding activity, but more importantly, we're looking at the ants that are benefiting from the ellie feeding activity. If you come over here, please, Sebastian, you can see an ant with a stripy grey bottom. That is the southern boo-boo calling. Now, I don't know why it has a stripy grey bottom, but that's what it has. And it is enjoying the cambium layer here on this knobthorn tree that has been exposed by the elephants. And we have been sampling it as well, Sebastian and I, thoroughly enjoying the taste. And that's exactly what this chap's doing. He's collecting the nutrients that are travelling up and down still a little bit in this exposed cambium layer of the knobthorn tree. Now, this knobthorn tree has got quite a history if you look at it. It has not told me that. I do not speak knobthorn, but I do speak biology. And if you look at this knobthorn tree, it has obviously quite old, and this is not its first rodeo with elephants. Its first rodeo with elephants probably happened when it was still a sapling, and it was cut down to the ground, and it became 3 trees. You can see it must have coppiced 3 times. Those 3 stems have then merged into one, after which it was not pushed over again by elephants, but it certainly has been stripped of bark many times. And this very clever tree has got 3 stems, 3 very thick stems, and so even should an elephant come along here and ring bark one of those stems, resulting in the death of all the above ground material, it will still have another 2 stems to survive from elephant attack. Now you can see this is a very old elephant attack. This slightly more recent. And there's another even more recent one around this side, but the one that you're looking at, that side with the ants on it, probably happened in the last week or so. So this poor knobthorn has managed to survive through thick and thin, despite the attentions of the pachyderms that reside over here. Poor thing. It will still live, though. It still has bark that runs all the way from the ground up to the top. And it has flushed its new leaves as a great elder of the knobthorn community. Hello, Lauren. No, not all ants can bite and sting. I don't think they all do bite and sting. Remember, a sting is a female that has got a modified ovipositor, so the bit that she uses to deposit eggs, or in the case of a bee, they're obviously sterile, but they are female, and that's what they use to sting with. So if you find a male ant, for example, knocking about, he won't be able to sting you. He might be able to bite you. The red driver ant is the best example of that. Most of these ants, though, belong to the family of Formicidae, I think. I think that's the family. I might be wrong. Anyway, they produce formic acid, and that's what gives the Polyrhacus ant its lemon drop taste, and it's what makes these ants quite effective or defensive. It makes these ants quite effective defensively. They're able to exude the formic acid, and that puts off potential predators. It's really quite nice to eat this stuff when it's fresh. I couldn't survive on it, but it does have a sweetish taste to it. Right. Let us go back to David, who has got not the pride, but the tree of sausage. Back again you are with us. Sorry about that. Someone's going to get a beating today when we get home. I'm not sure who it is. Probably the tech team. I think a bit of beatings for the tech team. We now have about 46 tech team interns at the moment, so they will all receive a public flogging pre-breakfast, and then they will not be allowed to have breakfast. And I think that's what we should do in order to sort out our technical difficulties. Public floggings. They were very popular a few centuries ago. I think you'll find they were probably very effective. These days, public flogging is just not done, really. But I think maybe we'll start it again in our camp. Right, you see, what's happened is that they have become fearful of the public flogging and no food, and they've managed to sort out the problem in the Masai Mara.
Well, my apologies. We had a bit of gremlins there, and sometimes you get lots of technical hitches. But earlier I was talking of the sausage tree pride, and I tried to explain why we call that pride, or why we give that pride that name. Now, this is a sausage tree. And from what I was saying earlier, it's a very solid tree. Look at the leaves, and they tend to remain green all around the year. And the fruits hanging down there, look at them carefully. I would guess they take the shape of a sausage. James, do you agree? James? James is not sure that they take the shape of a sausage, but that's why we call this tree the sausage tree. And if you forget to call it the sausage tree, you can also call it the Kegeria africana. And that breed of lions have been known just to jump, grab the trunk and up there, and they'll take the shade of this tree for a better part of the day. And especially if there are lots of, flies on the ground. But back in the village I come from, we have always harvested this fruit, but we'll always wait until they mature and they fall down. And when that happens, we'll get some water and put in a gourd and put in a bit of sugar and a bit of honey, keep it close to the fire for 2 or 3 days, and then put in this fruit for that 2 or 3 days, and we make some local brew or some local wine that is used many times when you have, say, big celebrations like weddings, or when you have bumper harvest and there's a lot of food for the people. And that drink is called moratina. Moratina. It's very sweet, and we call it our local liqueur. It's more of a liqueur than anything else. And you can keep taking it. It has no hangovers, and you have always assumed also it's kind of a medicine, because the more you drink the honey, the better. Christy, you'd like to know whether the fruit can be eaten. We don't eat it, but I can tell you, Christy, it have lots of fiber. But animals love it. Elephants love it, baboons love it. They always eat it, so it's edible to the animals because it have lots of fiber, which helps them in digestion. But for us as humans here, we only use it to help us to ferment some wine. But that's a very good question, Christy. So this, I would say, the fruit, these are very young ones. Once they mature, they'll always fall down, and I'm sure you don't want to be having a picnic under that tree. Some of them, some of the fruits could be about 500 pounds, and they could be pretty heavy. And that's how they're swinged by the wind. And 5 pounds of weight, sorry, not 500 pounds, 5 pounds of a fruit, you don't want it on your head. Very good. Now I'm gonna leave my 5 pounds weight sausage fruit and go to someone who has a feathered friend.
Thanks, David. Sausages on the ground and in the tree, indeed. Oh, well, there we had a European bee eater. They have been in the Mara for some time already. I don't know if they've been spotted down in Djuma already, seeing as the migrants are being there. I've heard of some redback shrikes this morning, as well as the woodland kingfisher finally caught on camera. The European bee-eaters should be down south. If they're not down south, they shall be shortly, in the next couple of probably weeks or so. But they generally start arriving sort of around September, October, but it's rainfall dependent, and maybe they haven't gotten all the way down there because, well, the Mara has got loads of insects. And as the name bee-eater implies, they are a catcher of insects on the wing. Not only bees, but any flying insect that you might come across. And bees are one of the foods that they do catch, of course, and quite often when they catch them, you'll see them landing back on a perch like this and then smashing or wiping the bee against a branch to eradicate or get rid of the sting. But a beautiful a beautiful adult there. You can tell by the streamer on the end of the tail. The juveniles would be with them as well at the moment. A little paler in colour. They do definitely lack that tail feather at the back. But migrating after breeding in Europe, they'll be heading all the way back down and ending up as far as South Africa, which is very, very cool. Leah, they are a very beautiful bird. A very, very beautiful bird indeed. And I'm sure the Djuma crew will be seeing them in the next little while. But a Palearctic migrant, which means they go all the way up north of the Sahara, getting as far up into Europe. I'm not sure exactly where, but very nice to see, and often seen in quite large groups. The bee-eater, he's busy waiting to see the movement of some insect. So they can get into groups of more than 20, even up to 100 sometimes. And then they will also roost together for safety, of course. Very good. Well, we are in the marsh area now, heading through and across towards where the bat-eared foxes are, and maybe we'll be able to see some bat-eared foxes some more. Charles, you haven't seen so many beautiful birds. Well, there are plenty of them around. There's a ground. You see a ground hornbill, do you? I'm blind. There we go. There goes the bee-eater flying how it flies. Very, very. Oh wow! Look at that! Directly behind the bee-eater. Can you see that? There is it looks like a youngster ground hornbill just behind. And zoom in. There it is. It was hiding in the long grass. I say youngster because when you look at the face is it's a little bit pink. It's not grey and it's not red. The bird at the back with the black. So it's coming into adult sort of colours. When they're juvenile, they've got a very sort of grey face. When they're adults, it's a very dark red. And he's in the transition, or she is in the transition. Walking through, feeding on similar food to what you would have seen the heron catching. We'll definitely grab rodents. It's just moved a piece of dung there, it seems, and no doubt underneath the dung will be loads of insects in the form of termites. And when you see a bird knocking its head back like that, it's invariably got insects that it's picking up and throwing back, the same way you would if you were throwing nuts into your mouth. That same sort of way. And they don't have the hands, the facility to pick up something and throw it in their mouth like we do. So they have to pick it up with the tip of the beak, flick it back, and open the mouth to swallow. And walking through the long grass here, they'll feed on anything from snakes, lizards, insects, frogs, baby birds. Very good. Nice to see. So many birds walking through and moving through the ground, the long grasses in this area, showing enormous amounts of potential from a food point of view. And well, seeing as the rains have arrived in South Africa, the dung beetles are no doubt out and about.
Yes, here they are, out and about. This dung beetle is pretending to be dead. That's because it thinks I want to eat it, which I do not. I do not want to eat dung beetle. That would be disgusting. This is a plum dung beetle. You can see that because it is the color of a, altogether now, Plum, correct. Well done. Good. Now, we were talking about the fused elytra of the longhorn beetle, and now you can see these are non-fused elytra. So the forewings are still a protective shell, but when this dung beetle flies, what it does is open out that protective shell, and the hind wings come out, and that's how it motors about or helicopters about the place, with the hind wings. Isn't that impressive? And he's just pretending to be dead because he thinks I want to eat him, as I said, but I don't. Put him on his back quickly, just so I might be able to show you the mites that help them navigate. Yes, there they are. Oh, you see, he doesn't want to stay on his back. There are mites underneath there that help him to navigate. Like a magic trick. He is amazing. Watch this. Sweet. And look at his little spade head that he will use to scrape dung. And obviously the combs on the front legs. That will help him as well. Or her, it could be a her. He's just rubbing his face there, a bit like Hosanna, after he's been on screen for a while. Yes, shame. Still looking for some fresh dung. This particular one we rescued, it had a bit of a crash landing through a bush. But like I say, and as David's told you, we don't ever interfere in nature, do we? Never. Isn't he gorgeous? And you could see his mites there. Good. Yeah, look, he's going to fly. Oh, wow. Let's see. There we go. Off you go. Here they come. He's coming back. Gary, I don't actually know the mechanism by which the mites help them find the dung. I'm not sure. It's not a navigational thing. They navigate using the stars mostly, but they use those mites apparently to find the dung. And the great story is, and I've told you this before, but you know, I've probably told you most of the things I tell you before. There was an Australian experiment from, you know, the old story of the corks on the hats in Australia. That's because of the flies. The flies are there because of the sheep and the dung that the sheep produce. And because they produce so much dung, there were so many flies that they had to put corks around their heads. And they thought to themselves, well, what can we do about this? Where else is there a lot of dung, and how do they deal with it? And the answer, of course, was in Africa. There's a lot of dung from the animals that live here, but nobody walks around with corks on their heads. And so what they did was they took a whole lot of African dung beetles. We can't go around this way. They took a whole lot of African dung beetles, they put them in Australia, and, well, they couldn't find their dung because they'd sterilised them as they came in, you see. They took off all the mites. And some very clever clogs figured this out, and he re-imported a whole lot of dung beetles with the mites on them, and lo and behold, all of the sheep dung was buried. And that's why you don't see a lot of corks on the hats in Australia anymore. So I'm told. All right, we're going somewhere else now. I didn't quite find out where or to whom, but let's go there now.
Well, we found Pretty, the hyena, having a drink at Buffelshoek Dam. And she's got a nice rotund belly. And she crossed from the north, from Buffelshoek, so she's been up to the north, so I think she's probably on her way back towards the den. She's still quite far away from it now, but I think this evening she might be at the den. I'm not 100% sure they've moved dens yet. I think she might decide to take a bit of a spa day before heading back to the den, and I'm hoping she climbs into the mud when she's finished drinking. Hyenas love a good mud bath. Very thirsty. Now, Pretty, are you going to go climb into the mud? I think you are. It's going to find a nice spot to settle down, put that big, hot, heavy belly in the mud. Oh, there we go. Still drinking a bit. I think she is going to flatten herself out shortly. And a hyena in a nice muddy wallow is a very content hyena. Now, apparently some of you are wondering if she's got an injury on her back. Not that I saw. Craig, did you see an injury? No, I didn't. She's just got a very fat belly. Very thirsty. A belly full of rotting flesh. And she's still sniffing, testing the air. I think she might spend an hour or two lounging in the mud bath before finding a shady spot to sleep in and then moving off towards the cubs this evening. Hey. So shall I lie down? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? It seems to be getting a little bit heavier. No, still thirsty. Oops. Water go down the wrong way there. She's looking most relaxed. Shah is wondering, will mud help keep insects and mites off her? Oh, indeed, it shall, Shah. Only when she's lying in it. As soon as she gets up and moves, it's likely that there won't be too much respite. There we go. It's getting comfy now. No, that's not the right spot for her. No, or maybe it's just a short spa treatment today. And we're off again. Michael says it's not pretty. He thinks it could be Luca. I was just looking at that square out of the ear there and the light fur coloration. But I will bow to your superior knowledge, Michael. I don't spend as much time with the hyenas as some of the others here. Jamie. Some of us have to go find the lions and leopards. Well, we're going to let whichever hyena is move off. I'm going to have a quick look down the Buffelshoek boundary on our way home to see if Hasana might have moved back into Djuma. Yeah, well, I see if we can get a last-minute leopard, and specifically the last-minute little chief. Let's send you back to Steve in the Mara to see what he's up to for the next little while. Hopefully he's had some luck.
Most common phrase on SafariLive, isn't it? How many times have we had one? Well, not up here in the Mara. We are almost at the Battered Fox Den. We're looking just through the open plains here, because this is where we also have the little jackals. Sometimes, well, most of the time we've come here. So we're just having a little scan, see if they're around. It might be a bit late in the day for the foxes, but It's one of those things I wanted to see. Are they active when we get here, sort of at this time of morning? And if they are, it would be worth investigating in future. I haven't been here at this time. We've been here all other times during the drive, and, well, it is quite a debatable thing, in fact. I don't quite know when's the best time now, but we've got to correlate something that works out so that when we do come, there they are. But no jackal. I can't see any jackal bumbling around. Maybe they've also gone and hidden themselves, or maybe they've all moved over towards where the two buffalo carcasses are. But jackal will drop their territorial boundaries when a big carcass like that presents itself nearby. They'll forget all about their territory, and you get a number of jackals coming together into one sighting. And once the food resource or the predator that they are ganging up against is chased off, then they all go back and resume exactly what it is they were doing before. We do have Manu. He's parked up here at the Batty-Head Foxes. We're going to be doing a little interview after drive about them, so that's why he's there. And maybe he's been getting some wonderful shots. Don't know. You can maybe get a little video of them, Ponge. Lucy's one of our new producers. She's in the car with Manu, so maybe we can get them to have a little bit of a smile and a wave. We know that the viewers love to meet new staff members. Wave, Lucy. Manu, as always, is hiding his face. Hello, Lucy. Smile for the camera. And there's Manu, of course. Well, we can look at them, all nice and bundled up in the vehicle. Lucy, smile. Say hello to everybody. There's Lucy. She's working, obviously, in the Mara team as a producer upstairs. And there she is. But here is the den site on our left-hand side, but there's no one at home at the moment. No one at home currently. So the den is just here on the ground. No one at home for the moment. So this is possibly not the best time of day to visit them. Manu, have you seen them this morning? They were out, eh? So he got them, and then they just went back in. Yeah, so we'll have to correlate some times to find out what works best from a Batty-Head fox perspective. But it's good to see at least Manu saw them, so it's good to know that they are still around. But it seems to be a time of day when the heat gets a little bit much, and in the hole they go. One of the many species using the ground to their advantage, because underneath the ground the temperature remains pretty constant throughout the day and throughout the night. Is for that reason why there are so many animals that utilize holes across the savanna and the desert regions, so as to prevent themselves from overheating and or freezing. And in the distance normally we see a family of jackal moving around. We're just scanning to see if maybe they are indeed somewhere nearby. Nothing at the moment. There's a quiet morning from the canid side of things. We've had a couple jackal this morning, and we weren't able to get the best view of them, unfortunately. But it has indeed been a fabulous morning out, not only in the Mara, but down in Djuma. What would a morning be without a breeding herd of elephant enjoying their morning feeding? The rains have surely provided some interesting things for the bushwalk team, with many insects seen by James this morning. And finally, Brent, thank you for getting the woodland kingfisher on camera. I still want to know who won the bet. A lot of us put numbers down or dates of when the first woodland would be seen, and mine was the 18th. I think James said his was the 17th of November. But I'd like to still know, Lou, who won that, because I think someone was keeping a tally, but we'll find out shortly. But anyway, hyena all over the place, lions eating, Nkuhuma's moving south again, unfortunately. Where to, who knows? But at least David has managed to find the sausages, and the two cubs are looking good. Where is the third? We don't know. But thank you, everybody, for joining us once again from both locations in the Mara Triangle. and in the Kruger National Park, Sabi Sands. It has always been a pleasure having you on board. Lots of questions and comments. Hope we've been able to enlighten you once again with our safari show. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again this afternoon. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.